ठीक है डॉक्टर साहब, स्टार्ट करें।
ठीक है। Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hope you all are doing good. Today we will be discussing respiratory system examination. If you people have coming to the wards, we will be teaching this examination in your wards, but because of the pandemic situation, you people are not coming to the wards, so we are doing it in the online lectures. Hope you will understand it. Okay. Any examination, whether it is a respiratory examination, a GI examination, or a cardiovascular examination, any examination, the first and foremost thing that you do before starting your examination when you are coming to the clinics is taking the history of the patient. So, starting from the history, we take a complete detailed history. I hope you all know how to take a detailed history, especially in pediatrics ward. And then after taking the history, you make certain differential diagnosis. And to narrow down the list of that differential diagnosis that you have made, you do the examination of the child so that there are limited number of diagnoses left in the end when you are completing with your history and examination. So the basic parts of examination, the basic steps of examination include the inspection, the palpation, percussion, and then the auscultation. If you have any query while we are doing this history examination, if you have any query, you can ask in the end. I'll answer your queries in the last. Okay, starting from the history, the first and the foremost thing is the history. History starts with the presenting complaint. As you all know, the presenting complaint is basically the complaint with which the child is brought to the hospital. Suppose the child is suffering from fever, the child is suffering from respiratory distress. So this is the presenting complaint. And you take the presenting complaint, you ask what complaints let the child come to the hospital, and then what was the duration of the hospital, what were the duration of those complaints. Suppose if the child has a history of fever and respiratory distress, then you write it in the chronological order. If the fever comes first, you write fever, suppose for the last 1 week, and then you will write the respiratory distress. Suppose it is there for the last 2 or 3 days. So the order would be fever for 1 week and respiratory distress for 3 days. This will be your presenting complaint. Now coming to the history of the respiratory system, the common symptomatology that we are dealing with in our patients who are coming with the respiratory examination findings, the common symptoms include the history of cough, which is most common when you are coming to the wards or the clinics and you are visiting our ERs. You will see that every other child is suffering from the respiratory complaints, and the most important and the most frequent complaint that we are getting in our ER is cough. History of cough is most common complaint. Then apart from that, there may be a history of runny nose, there may be a sore throat. The child may present with the history of sputum production. Remember one thing, the sputum production does not happen in a very young child. Sputum production is there, but since they are unable to expectorate because the sputum production and expectoration requires a lot of respiratory effort, which a younger child cannot do. So usually these children present without the history of sputum production. The mother may complain that the child has a noisy cough and there is some secretion coming out whenever the child coughs, but the true sputum is not there until the child is more than 5 years of age around. They cannot expectorate. Maybe they are producing the secretions, but they cannot expectorate. They just swallow that secretions. So this is an important thing you have to keep in your mind. And then shortness of breath or fast breathing. The mother may complain that the child has difficulty in breathing. The child is unable to do his physical activities, routine activities. The child is having a very fast breathing rate. Sometimes mother may complain that the child is breathing very heavily and very rapidly. So these are the common complaints. And apart from that, the older child may complain of a chest pain. There may be a history of hemoptysis, and mother may come to you with the history that there are certain added sounds in the while the child is breathing. She may not exactly tell you that this is a wheezing or this is a stridor, but she may complain that there is a sound, there's a peculiar sound when the child is breathing, like there is a whistling sound or there is a crackling sound, the mother may complain that. She may not complain that the child is wheezing or child is having stridor. These are the medical terms, but you have to be very sure, okay, what type of sound is it? So these are the common symptoms that you are getting in a child who is coming with the problems with the respiratory system. Okay. Now, after you take the history, the presenting complaint, you have to inquire about the history of present illness or history of presenting complaint. And in that portion, you ask about the details of the complaint. For example, if the child is coming with the history of, suppose, cough, then what was the onset? Has it started suddenly, or there was a gradual onset? Then you will inquire about the duration of the cough, for how long it is there. You will inquire about the progression of the illness. Any symptom, if the child is coming with respiratory distress, if the child is coming with the runny nose, is there any progression of the symptoms? Has the symptoms increasing in intensity? And you will inquire about the severity. For example, if the child is having a problem of cough, then how severe is the cough? Is the child able to lie down? Is the child is having respiratory difficulty along with the coughing? Does the cough preceded, the cough is preceded by the certain, or the cough is basically followed by the episode of vomiting, or there is a croup present or not? So you will inquire about each and every symptom in detail, and you will inquire about the aggravating factors. At what time the particular complaint aggravates? If the child is suffering from, suppose, asthma, his symptom used to aggravate at night. So this will help you in making the differential diagnosis. If the cough is aggravating at night and it is somewhat relieved by taking rest, by taking bronchodilator, then this might give you a clue that the child is suffering from asthma. Then you will also inquire about the relieving factors. It may be a medication, it may be a certain posture, anything which cause the relief of the symptoms. You will have to inquire about those things also. And then if the child is suffering from certain things for about a week, then the mother must has taken the child to some other hospital or some other clinic. What medications he had received in that clinic, what investigations have been done so far. You have to inquire about all these things in your history of presenting complaint or history of present illness. HOPI या HOPC हम normally इसे कहते हैं. तो इसमें आपने each and every symptom को आपने elaborate करना है. Detail आपने उसका जो है वो history लेना है, so that you come to the certain differential diagnosis. तो ये सारी चीजें हैं कि onset, what was the onset, what was the duration, how it is progressing, what was the severity of the illness, what are the aggravating factors, what are the relieving factors, and any treatment or investigations have been done so far. You have to inquire about all those things. Then rest of the components of the history are also very important. आपने history of presenting complaint के बाद usually you go to the past history. Past history के अंदर past medical history है we have, and the past surgical history. Medical history में if the child has been hospitalized for any medical illness or the child has been hospitalized for any surgical illness, तो वो आपने detail पूछना है. Suppose the child is a known case of diabetes, तो ये मेडिकल इलनेस है, तो आपने इसकी मेडिकल हिस्ट्री, पास्ट मेडिकल हिस्ट्री डिटेल्स में आपने कवर करनी है कि फॉर हाउ लॉन्ग ही इज हैविंग दिस डायबिटीज, व्हाट कॉम्प्लिकेशंस हैव बीन अराइज सो फार, how many times he have been admitted to the hospital, and what medications is he receiving for his diabetes right now, and in the past what medications he has received. वो सारा डिटेल आपने पास्ट हिस्ट्री के अंदर पूछना है. एंड इन द पास्ट सर्जिकल हिस्ट्री, इफ द चाइल्ड हैज गॉन थ्रू एनी सर्जरी और एनी ऑपरेशन, so the details of that operation or details of any procedure that has been undertaken in the past, उसको आपने डिटेल में elaborate करना है. Then after the past history, and अगर हम respiratory system से context में बात करें, तो the history of similar complaints in the past, like suppose if the child is coming to you with the history of cough, तो recent onset cough है या past history के अंदर similar episodes, इसको जो है वो on and off the child is suffering from those episodes. Or if the child is coming with the history of wheezing, mother is saying that the child is having some musical sound in his breath, तो in the past is ये सिमिलर कंप्लेंट्स जो हैं वो पास्ट में भी इसको होती रही हैं, ER विजिट्स करता रहा है, तो दिस विल टेल यू कि दिस माइट बी एस्थमा और नॉट, बिकॉज वीजिंग मोस्ट कॉमनली हमें एस्थमा के पेशेंट्स के अंदर ही मिलती है. तो all that wheeze, but always remember, all that wheeze is not asthma. There are certain other non-asthmatic causes of the wheezing also. So you have to inquire कि अगर past history में similar illnesses हैं, bronchodilators मिलता है, तो relieve हो जाता है. So this will give you a clue that this could be a case of asthma. So past history है, then after past history, pediatric history taking में there are certain additional points also. You have to take the detailed birth history. And birth history, you divide it into the antenatal, natal, and the postnatal. Antenatal is the timing of the when the mother conceives the child and till the mother delivered the child. All that period is your antenatal period. Okay? So you have to inquire about the major events that has taken place during the antenatal period. And then the natal history, what was the mode of delivery, where the delivery was conducted, who conducted the delivery, and then the postnatal history. Did the child cry immediately after birth? Did he require any resuscitation? Did he hospitalize? Was he admitted in an ICU? Was whatever the things going on after the delivery of the child, you have to inquire all those things in the postnatal history. So this comprises your birth history, antenatal, natal, and postnatal. We divided into the three components, and this completes your birth history. Then after birth history, there is a history of the immunization also in pediatric patients. We inquire about the history of what is the immunization status of the child. Is the child completely immunized? Is the child completely unimmunized? Or he is partially immunized? So uske liye you must be knowing the complete EPI schedule, or you have to inquire about each and every thing. Or if the mother is having the card, you can see the card and you can have an idea okay, what vaccinations did the child receive in the past. Because there are, like suppose if the child has received pneumococcal vaccine, which has been introduced in our EPI schedule for the last 2-3 years. It's been there. So the child suffering from pneumonia, and you are considering that the child is immunized, there is less. It is less likely that the infection is because of strep pneumonia, because the child is immunized. Another important thing is the pertussis, that is the pertussis organism. It is being covered in your EPI schedule. So you if the child is if the child is immunized for the pertussis, then if the child is coming to you with a history of cough, then you will not consider pertussis in your top differentials. It will come the child if he's immunized for the pertussis, there are very, very remote chances that the child is suffering from pertussis. So you will keep it in the lower down in your differential diagnosis, not in the top. So the history of immunization is also very important. Then after the birth history, the immunization history, another additional history that we are taking in our pediatric history taking is the developmental history. We covered history of similar complaints in the past, allergic disorders, exercise or sleep related symptoms. The symptoms of asthma might aggravate during exercise. The presence of adenoids may result in abnormal sleep patterns, or the child may have disturbed sleep pattern. So the sleep related symptoms and the exercise related symptoms are also very important. Presence of any chronic illness like congenital heart disease. This is very important because if the child is suffering from congenital heart disease, these children are prone to develop recurrent respiratory infections for various reasons. So you have to inquire if child is suffering from any other chronic illness. Then history of previous hospitalizations and their details, the detailed birth history, family history. In our part of the world, history of TB contact. When you are taking the family history, you have to inquire about the members of the family who are suffering from TB or who are taking treatment for the TB or who has been suffered from TB in the past. Because TB is like we are an endemic area for the tuberculosis. and the children, they are most likely to suffer if an elder in the house is suffering from tuberculosis. They are very vulnerable and they are most likely to suffer. And one important thing, remember that BCG vaccination does not give 100% protection against tuberculosis. And then the history of immunization, this we have already discussed. Now, coming to the examination, which is the important thing of today's lecture. There are certain prerequisites when you are going for the examination. Remember that you are dealing with the pediatric patients. ठीक है, बच्चों के साथ you are dealing, तो बच्चे are very cranky, they are very moody, और इनके साथ आपने जब examination करना है, तो unless you make a very good rapport with the child will not allow you to do the examination on him. इतने cooperative बच्चे हमारे होते नहीं हैं, because they are scared of the strange people. ठीक है, especially doctors and nurses, उनसे तो वो बहुत ही ज्यादा डरते हैं. तो आपने अपना एक rapport build up करना है, और आपने बेबी को ये कॉन्फिडेंस देना है कि दैट यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू डू एनी हार्म विद द चाइल्ड. ठीक है, तो फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट थिंग, वॉश एंड ड्राई योर हैंड्स टिल द एल्बो. ठीक है, एंड देन आफ्टर यू ड्राई योर हैंड्स यू स्लाइटली रब योर हैंड्स, बिकॉज अगर ऐसे एनवायरमेंट में है जहाँ पे थोड़ा सा ठंड है, तो आप एज सून एज यू टच द चाइल्ड विल शिवर, तो आपने अपने हैंड्स को थोड़ा सा जेंटली वार्म भी करना है. ठीक है, देन यू इंट्रोड्यूस योर सेल्फ टू द पेशेंट एंड टू द फैमिली. Especially pediatric patients के अंदर, if you have a rapport with the mother, then your child will allow you to do the examination. अगर आपने mother के साथ rapport build up कर ली है, तो then it will be easier to examine the child. So introduce yourself and then make a good rapport and explain each and everything what you are going to do with the child, what examination you are doing and what you will be doing, and make sure that you are getting this thing instilled in the mind of a child that you are not going to give him any pain. ठीक है ना, सबसे ज्यादा जो उनको डर लग रहा होता है वो बेसिकली यही होता है कि मुझे इंजेक्शन लगा देंगे. ठीक है, तो you are going to tell them that you are not going to do any harm, you are not going to inflict him with any pain, so that the child is more comfortable with you. Then you have to take the informed consent. Obviously this you have to take from the elder who is accompanying the child, because बच्चा तो जाहिर है कंसेंट नहीं देगा, बट आपने जो उसकी मदर साथ है या केयर गिवर जो भी साथ में है, उसके साथ आपने इन्फॉर्म्ड कंसेंट लेनी है. देन यू हैव टू एक्सपोज द चाइल्ड. ठीक है, आपने एग्जामिनेशन करना है रेस्पिरेटरी सिस्टम का, तो चेस्ट तो आपका जो है वो उसका एक्सपोज होना चाहिए. और पीडियाट्रिक पॉपुलेशन के अंदर देयर आर नो इश्यूज ऑफ मॉडेस्टी, और ये वाले इश्यूज हमें नहीं होते हैं. छोटे बच्चे होते हैं हमारे पास, यू कैन इजिली एक्सपोज द chest, and when you are doing the respiratory examination, the exposure must be of the chest and the abdomen. अगर कोई adolescent female है या कोई elderly child है, या हमारी तो 8-9 years की female भी शाय होती हैं, तो what you can do, you can apply, कोई blanket वगैरह आप उसके ऊपर जो है वो कर सकते हैं, और when you are doing examination, you can expose the child for momentarily and then you cover the child again. तो लेकिन but the ideal thing is that you have to expose the whole chest and abdomen. And then what should be the position of the child when you are doing the respiratory examination? Remember one thing, when you are doing the respiratory examination, you have to examine the child's respiratory system anteriorly, laterally and also posteriorly. ठीक है, जब हम examination start करते हैं, what we do all the components of examination anteriorly and laterally first, that is inspection, palpation, percussion and auscultation. ये सारे aspects हम पहले anterior और lateral कर लेते हैं, and then we go to the posterior chest examination and we do all these components there. हम ऐसे नहीं करते हैं कि we do the inspection first anteriorly, laterally, and then we ask the child to sit down and then we go to the posterior chest. No, ये बहुत uncomfortable हो जाता है. ठीक है, तो complete your examination on the anterior and lateral aspects, and then in the end go to the posterior aspect. और उसके लिए position क्या होनी चाहिए for the anterior chest and the lateral chest? Lying down and sitting position are preferred. ठीक है ना, अगर lying down में प्रॉब्लम है चाइल्ड को, बच्चा सपोज इतना सिवियर रेस्पिरेटरी डिस्ट्रेस है कि he is unable to lie down, तो you can ask the child to sit, और आप सिटिंग पोस्चर में भी जो है वो anterior और lateral examination easily कर सकते हैं. And for the posterior examination, the ideal position that the child must be sitting and the arms are resting on the opposite shoulder, so that the posterior part of the chest is completely visualized. वो completely आपका expose हो जाता है, visualize हो जाता है, तो you can do the examination easily. ठीक है, So these are the prerequisites. आपने जो है वो expose किया, आपने अपने hands wash किए, introduce yourself, take the consent, and then proper exposure and proper position of the child. ये सारी चीजें करने के बाद now you are going to start with your examination. And any examination, आप respiratory examination करें, abdominal करें, cardiovascular करें या central nervous system examination करें, there is always a general examination that you are going to do first. ठीक है ना? General examination, just by looking at the child, what impression you are getting. If the child is sick looking, if the child is normal looking, what is the nutritional status of the child is thin, lean, the child is obese, the child is of average height and build, and then you have to look at the general appearance में, you have to look for the pallor. If the child is severely pale, even बहुत severe pale होते हैं बच्चे, तो they come with the history of breathlessness. Mother शायद pallor notice नहीं कर पाती हैं. When the child is becoming breathless, तो वो notice करती हैं कि बच्चे का सांस बहुत तेज चल रहा है. The cause of basically that breathlessness is the anemic failure that is going on. ठीक है? तो you have to look for the pallor. You have to look for the cyanosis. Cyanosis is basically the blue discoloration of the skin, and this is because of the deoxyhemoglobin. ठीक है? जब oxygenation नहीं हो रही है proper, तो the child may get cyanosed. Respiratory failure जब होता है तो child cyanosed हो जाता है because of the decrease in the partial pressure of oxygen in the lungs. Cyanosis होती है. तो आपने cyanosis के लिए देखना है, especially if you are doing the respiratory examination. And then you have to look for the clubbing also. There are multiple things in which you get clubbing. और उसमें जो respiratory जो diseases हैं जिनमें you get clubbing, उसके लिए आपके पास जो है वो स्पेशली अगर आपके पास कोई क्रॉनिक इलनेसेस वाले पेशेंट हैं, लाइक ब्रोंकाइटिस है बिकॉज ऑफ सिस्टिक फाइब्रोसिस है पेशेंट को, या पेशेंट को एम्पाइमा है, इन दोज कंडीशंस यू कैन गेट क्लबिंग. इवन टीवी के अंदर बाजू का क्लबिंग मिल जाती है. एस्थमेटिक्स में समटाइम्स यू गेट क्लबिंग. सो देयर आर मल्टीपल थिंग्स व्हिच कैन कॉज क्लबिंग. So you have to check for the clubbing in the fingernails. Clubbing is basically the obliteration of the angle between the nail and the nail bed. Shamrod sign से भी हम चेक कर सकते हैं, कार्ड के थ्रू भी चेक कर सकते हैं. जब भी आप जनरल एग्जामिनेशन करोगे तो आई होप you will be doing this clubbing in detail. Then you have to palpate for the lymph nodes, because जब भी कोई infective etiology है, कोई tuberculosis है, कोई pneumonia है, malignancies जो हैं, they are lung malignancies per se जो हैं वो they are not very common in pediatric population. वो generally आपको जो lung cancer है, this is a disease of the older people. तो pediatric population में basically जो lymph nodes enlargement है, the cause जो है वो usually आपका infectious etiology होता है. तो importantly आपने cervical lymph nodes और axillary lymph nodes जरूर examine करने. Now after doing the general examination, okay, after doing the general examination, now we are doing the respiratory examination, and the respiratory examination starts with the inspection. ठीक है? And for inspection, आपने क्या करना है? You have to stand at the foot end of the patient, और foot end of the patient पे जाके you have to bend down so that you come to the level of the patient. आपने पेशेंट के लेवल के ऊपर जाना है, फुट एंड पे जाके खड़ा होना है, एंड देन यू हैव टू कमेंट ऑन सर्टेन थिंग्स. फर्स्ट यू स्टैंड ऑन द फुट एंड ऑफ द पेशेंट, देन यू कम फॉरवर्ड, स्टैंड ऑन द राइट साइड ऑफ द पेशेंट. There are certain things which are better appreciated from the foot end, while there are certain things which are better appreciated from the side of the patient, from the right side of the patient. तो जब इंस्पेक्शन आपने करना है तो दोनों तरीकों से इंस्पेक्ट करना है. पहले फुट एंड पे जाके you have to go and look for the shape of the chest, the symmetry of the chest, the movements of the chest, and the position of mediastinum. All these things are better visualized while you are standing at the foot end. And then you come to the right side and you look for any visible pulsations, any prominent vessels, presence of any scars or stria or any other marks if there are. तो वो सब चीजें आपको right side पे खड़े होके क्लोज आप जब इंस्पेक्शन करते हो तो आपको नजर आती हैं. मे बी यू मिस विजिबल पल्सेशन फ्रॉम द फुट एंड ऑफ द चाइल्ड, सो फॉर दैट यू हैव टू कम फॉरवर्ड. वी विल डू ईच एंड एवरी कंपोनेंट इन डिटेल. नाउ कमिंग टू दी फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल दी शेप ऑफ द चेस्ट. जब आपने इंस्पेक्शन किया, फुट एंड पे खड़े हो रहे हैं, नाउ यू हैव टू कमेंट ऑन द शेप ऑफ द चेस्ट. व्हाट इज द शेप ऑफ द चेस्ट? The normal shape of the chest is basically it is bilaterally symmetrical and elliptical. What is the meaning of elliptical? Elliptical basically means that the transverse diameter of the chest, it is more than your anterior posterior diameter. This is the normal shape of the chest. We all have this type of chest. Okay. What are the common abnormalities that you might get in a child with respiratory examination? If the shape is not elliptical, then it can be a barrel-shaped chest. What is a barrel-shaped chest? It is the opposite of elliptical. Okay, na? In the elliptical, the transverse diameter was more, while in the barrel shape, the anterior posterior diameter is more as compared to your transverse diameter. And why this is happening? This is because of the trapping of the air inside the chest cavity. Your anterior posterior diameter keeps on increasing whenever there is the air trapment. So this is known as the barrel-shaped chest, and the common causes of barrel-shaped chest in pediatric patients is basically the uncontrolled childhood asthma. अगर बच्चे का control asthma नहीं है, he is not compliant with the medications, he is not receiving proper medications, the air keeps on getting trapped in the alveoli. हम सबको पता है कि asthma में basically what happens in the asthma, the air goes inside easily, but what is the problem? Because of the ball valve phenomena, there is difficulty for air to come out. Expiration का problem होता है basically asthma के अंदर because of the bronchiolar constriction. There is a ball valve mechanism. The air can go inside, but it cannot come out easily. So there is air trapment, and this results in the barrel-shaped chest. I'll show you the picture also in the. Let's see the picture here. This is the barrel-shaped chest. You can see here. This is the anterior posterior diameter, and it has significantly increased because of the trapment of the air inside. Okay. Then another is the pectus carinatum. This is also known as the pigeon-shaped chest, and this is basically the forward protrusion of the sternum. The sternum is protruded forwardly, and this happens in patients with the rickets, that is vitamin D deficiency, in patients with asthma, and in patients with Marfan syndrome. These are the common causes of pectus carinatum or pigeon-shaped chest. Let's see the picture of this pectus carinatum. This is the picture of the pectus carinatum. Forward protrusion है इसके अंदर, chest जो है वो forward bulge नजर आ रहा है इसके अंदर आपको. So this is basically the pectus carinatum. Then another abnormality is the pectus excavatum. This is known as the funnel-shaped chest. As the name implies, excavatum, this is the funnel-shaped chest. There is depression in the, normally there is a hollow area beneath your sternum. But when this normal hollowness is exaggerated, then this is known as the pectus excavatum. Depression in the lower end of the sternum, this is known as the pectus excavatum, as you can see in this picture, right? This is the pectus excavatum. Then you can get a rachitic rosary. Rachitic rosary is basically the beaded appearance of the costochondral junctions because of the vitamin D deficiency rickets. And this you can see in, it is not very clear in this slide, but यहाँ पर basically ये आपका जो है वो ribcage है, ठीक है? And ये जो area है, these are your costochondral junctions. When you see from the side profile से अगर patient को आप देखते हैं, थोड़ा सा laterally move करा के, then you can easily see this beaded appearance of the costochondral junctions. ठीक है? ये नीचे वाली picture में भी आपको जो है वो ये बहुत clear जो है वो rosary दिखाई दे रही है, but this rosary is different from this rosary. ठीक है? This is more sharp, this is more angulated, this is more prominent. And this is not because of the rickets. This is known as the scorbutic rosary. This child is having scurvy and vitamin C deficiency. So vitamin C deficiency also results in scurvy that is different from the rachitic rosary, which is more rounded, while this scorbutic rosary is more angulated. Then another abnormality you might see in your chest shape is basically the presence of the Harrison sulcus. This Harrison sulcus is basically a symmetrical groove which is present just above the costal margin, and it is present along the line of attachment of the diaphragm. This you can see in this picture. This is the Harrison sulcus. There is a groove just above the intercostal spaces. There is the groove, and this is at the line of attachment of the diaphragm. And this is also a common finding in patients who are suffering from rickets. or who are having repeated respiratory infections for any reason. If the child is having recurrent respiratory infections, then you might get this Harrison sulcus or these abnormalities of the shape in those patients. I hope you understand this. Now, after the shape of the chest, when you are standing at the foot end, you have comment on the shape of the chest, and then you look at the symmetry of the chest. For this symmetry, basically you have to bend down to the patient's level. So if there is a mild asymmetry, subtle asymmetry, then you can identify it when you are watching the chest at the patient's level. ठीक है ना? तो any subtle सी asymmetry अगर आपको कोई bulge नजर आ रहा है या कोई depression नजर आ रही है in the आपको chest cavity, then you can identify and you can say the chest is bilaterally symmetrical, or there is a bulge in the right side of the chest, or there is depression on the left side of the chest. Whatever it is there, you have to comment on that. And then the position of the mediastinum. Position of mediastinum is basically the part of your palpation, not inspection. But if your apex bead is visible, then you can roughly have an idea about the position of the mediastinum. Sometimes the apex bead is visible, so you can comment on that the apex bead is visible. Just you cannot say okay, it is visible at this intercostal spaces or third or fourth. You cannot name the intercostal space because you have not palpated yet. Remember one thing, when you are doing the inspection and you see the visible pulsations and you are thinking that this visible pulsation is at the position of the apex bead, so it could be an apex bead. So you will always tell the examiner that there is a visible pulsation just below the nipple, at the level of nipple, few centimeters, जितना भी centimeter आपको नजर आ रहा है, away from the nipple. तो ये आपने इस तरह से बताना है, but you cannot say that it is in the third, fourth, or fifth intercostal space because you have not touched the patient yet. You have not counted the ribs yet. Okay. Then the movements of the chest. You have to look at how the chest is moving with the respirations. Okay. And in the movement, you have to take the respiratory rate of the child. Ideally, you take the respiratory rate in 1 complete minute when you are doing it in your wards. But remember one thing, when you are doing it in your examinations, you just have 5 minutes to do the complete examination of the respiratory system, including the anterior, lateral, posterior chest and the relevant examination. So in that 5 minutes, if you are giving 1 minute to count the respiratory rate, then you, in the end, there are multiple things which has been left because of the lack of time. So in examinations, you can count the respiratory rate in 15 or 20 seconds, and then you multiply it with 3 or 4. But in the real wards, in real clinics, you have to do this respiratory rate in whole minute because sometimes the children have periodic respiration, especially the newborns. They have periodic breathing. They have periods of hyperpnea followed by the period of apnea. So in that case, if you are taking a respiratory rate in 15 or 20 seconds, then it will not give you an accurate rate of the child. So you count it in 1 minute normally, and then the rhythm. How is the rhythm? Is there any abnormal rhythm? अब ये rhythm जो है वो इसमें different types of respirations आ जाती हैं, like Cheyne-Stokes breathing होती है, we have small respirations होती हैं, acidotic breathing होती है. तो ये different types of respirations होती हैं that you will learn when you are going to do all these things in details. But right now you have to take the respiratory rate, rhythm बताना है आपने कि how is it's a normal rhythm or it's an abnormal type of breathing. तो वो आपने उस पर कमेंट करना है. And then the type of breathing. When you are doing the inspection, अभी हम auscultation नहीं कर रहे हैं कि हम vesicular या bronchial breathing बताएं, but when you are doing inspection, then you have to tell about the type of breathing, whether it is abdominothoracic or thoracoabdominal. ठीक है ना? Abdominothoracic, how will you differentiate between abdominothoracic and thoracoabdominal? Is basically abdominothoracic के अंदर the abdomen comes out first during inspiration, while in thoracoabdominal the thorax moves out first. ठीक है ना? Basically जब भी inspire हम करते हैं तो there is expansion ना, inspiration में हमेशा expansion होती है chest की. तो कौन सा part आपकी body का is moving out first? If it is abdomen, then it is abdominothoracic type of movement. If it is chest, then it is thoracoabdominal type of movement. In pediatric patients, we normally and usually get abdominothoracic movement. ठीक है? And then signs of respiratory distress if there are present. Distress के signs आपको क्या मिलेंगे? There may be chest indrawing. What is chest indrawing? Chest indrawing is basically the lower part of the rib cage moves in during inspiration. ठीक है ना, दिस इज ऑपोजिट ऑफ द नॉर्मल हैपनिंग। क्या होता है, इंस्पायरेशन में चेस्ट एक्सपेंड करता है तो योर चेस्ट मूव्स आउट। If the lower part of the rib cage moves in during inspiration, this is known as the chest indrawing, and it is a sign of severe respiratory distress. Secondly, the use of accessory muscles. जो normally हम inspire expire करते हैं तो accessory muscles का work हमें नजर नहीं आता उसके अंदर, हम बहुत smoothly inspire expire करते हैं. But if the child is having respiratory distress, he is having difficulty in breathing, so he uses all his accessory muscles, which include the intercostal muscles and these the LNSI. He's using all those muscles to facilitate breathing. So वो आपको नजर आ रहे होते हैं, ठीक है ना. LNSI तो with each breath आपको जो है ये nostrils जो आपके हैं ये in and out move होते हुए नजर आते हैं, ठीक है. एंड इंटरकॉस्टल स्पेसेस, जब आपने पेशेंट को एक्सपोज किया हुआ है तो इंटरकॉस्टल मसल्स का यूज भी आपको नजर आ रहा होता है, ट्रेकियल टगिंग हो रही होती है. तो ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर द साइंस ऑफ रेस्पिरेटरी डिस्ट्रेस. ओके. And another important thing is that when you are doing inspection, to compare both sides, you have to see at the right side of the chest, at the left side of the chest, and compare both of them. If you are doing chest movements, तो आपने दोनों sides compare करना है कि both sides are moving equally with respiration or not, ठीक है ना. And if any of the side is की जो है वो movement आपको decrease लग रही है, then think about the possible causes of the decreased movement of the chest. तो जब भी जो एरिया भी आपका डिजीज होता है, जिसमें पैथोलॉजी होती है, जहां पर लीजन होता है, वहां पर आपकी चेस्ट मूवमेंट्स डिक्रीज्ड होती हैं, राइट. तो द कॉजेज ऑफ डिक्रीज चेस्ट मूवमेंट्स में whether we have consolidation, whether we have pneumothorax, whether we have pleural effusion, the collapse, the fibrosis of the lung, all these conditions will result in decreased chest movement on the affected side. Normal side normally move करती है and affected side पे आपको movements जो है वो कम लगती है, ठीक है. Then visible pulsations की हमने बात की कि apex beat या कोई और other pulsations अगर visible हैं तो you have to tell about that. And the presence of the scar marks. अब chest के ऊपर scars कौन कौन से हो सकते हैं. Suppose कोई road traffic accident जो है वो unfortunately patient को हुआ था और उसमें कोई जो है वो चेस्ट ट्यूब डली थी, सपोज पेशेंट को कोई न्यूमोथोरैक्स हो गया था या फिर हीमोन्यूमोथोरैक्स हो गया था, तो चेस्ट ट्यूब डली थी, तो द स्कार मार्क में भी देयर. और बच्चे कोई कंजेनिटल हार्ट डिजीज से सफर कर रहा था एंड ही हैड दैट रिपेयर ऑफ दैट कंजेनिटल हार्ट डिजीज हैज अकर्ड, तो उसका भी जो है वो मिड स्टेनोटमी स्कार मिल सकता है, लैटरल स्कार मिल सकता है. तो वेयर एवर द स्कार इज प्रेजेंट यू हैव टू टेल द एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन कि द स्कार इज देयर इन द मिड लाइन ऑफ द thorax or in the right side of the thorax or in the left side of the thorax, so you have to tell about that also. और कोई और अगर आपको जो है वो prominent चीज नजर आ रही है, कोई ऐसी जो है वो कैफे ओले स्पॉट्स वगैरह नजर आ रहे हैं या कोई वेस्कुलर लीजन नजर आ रही है, तो जो भी आपको जो है वो विजिबल इंस्पेक्शन पे विजिबल है, तो you have to tell about that also. So this complete our inspection. Now any questions regarding inspection of the chest are most welcome. Are there any? You can write your queries. आपकी queries जो हैं, you can write it. I'll read it and then I'll answer. Okay, there is one question, ma'am, how to feel apex feet if the child is skinny. I will tell you how to palpate the apex feet in the next section. Right now, I'm saying if you have any questions regarding the inspection of the chest, you can ask now. You can write it down and it will come to the chat section. So right now we don't have any questions. Okay, if you have any question, we also can take it in the last also. Okay. Then coming to the palpation. Palpation, you have completed your inspection. Now you have to comment about the inspection that my patient is a young male of average height and build. He is not having any signs of respiratory distress. Pellar या cyanosis भी नहीं है, तो the child is not pale, the child is not cyanosed. And on inspection of the chest is of normal elliptical shape. It is moving equally with respiration. There are no scar marks, no stria present. The type of respiration is basically abdominothoracic. The respiratory rate is suppose 40 breaths per minute. So इस तरह से you tell about the inspection of the child. Okay. Now coming to the palpation. In the palpation, we are going to do three things. We will check for the tenderness. We will check for the position of mediastinum. by ascertaining the position of the trachea and the apex beat. The student that have asked how to palpate the apex beat, this we will be doing in this section. And we have to check the chest expansion, whether it is bilaterally symmetrical chest expansion or the expansion is reduced on the particular side. So coming to the tenderness basically we do to first we inquire if there is any area which is tender, or if the child is having pain anywhere, and the area which is tender we are going to examine that in the last, and the rest of the chest is examined first. So on the whole of the chest, you move your head, you palpate with the palms of your hands, and then you check for the tenderness by gently pressing the chest of the child. The tenderness may be there because of the rib fracture, or it may be because of the presence of the pus cavity, whether in the liver in the form of liver abscess, or in the lungs because of the empyema. The chest may feel tender to touch, or the child might say that this I'm having pain in this area. So you have to check for the tenderness, and after tenderness, the position of the mediastinum. So in the mediastinum, you have to look for the trachea and you have to look for the apex beat. Now, how to examine or how to palpate the trachea? There are different methods for palpating the trachea. We have 1-finger method and we have 3-finger method. Any of the method which is convenient to you is applicable in our clinical settings. The most convenient method which I feel and majority of us feel is the 3-finger method. We will do it in detail. First of all, there are prerequisites when you are palpating the trachea, and those prerequisites include if the child is lying down and you are palpating for the trachea, then ideally there should be no pillow beneath the head of the child, because if the pillow is there, your neck is flexed and you cannot feel the trachea properly. Another important thing, the head should be in the midline. बच्चा है ना, तो अपना head यहाँ वहाँ move करता रहता है. So you stabilize the head of the child with your left hand and you palpate the trachea with your right hand. So ये दो important prerequisites हैं when you are doing the palpation of the trachea. Now what you have to do, if you are using 3 fingers, then you have to insert the tip. This basically what is written here is for the 1-finger method. चलो first I will tell you the 1-finger method, then I will tell you the 3-finger methods also. You have to insert the tip of your index finger in the suprasternal notch. All you can do it, what you can do is just do it right now and on your own neck. ठीक है ना? आपने अपने index finger से you dip your index finger in the suprasternal notch and you feel the rings of the trachea. They are easily felt when your finger is in the suprasternal notch. You are feeling the prominent things you are feeling with your finger. These are the tracheal rings. When you feel the tracheal rings, now what you do, the same finger is slided in the angle between the sternocleidomastoid muscle and the trachea. If you are doing it on the right side, you slide your finger, that is same index finger, you slide in the space between the sternocleidomastoid muscle and your trachea. आपने ट्रेकिया फील कर लिया, स्टेनोक्लीडोमास्टोइड तो विजिबल ही होता है, तो उसके दरमियान में जो स्पेस है, यू डिप योर फिंगर इन दैट पर्टिकुलर स्पेस ऑन बोथ साइड्स. आपने राइट साइड पे भी डिप करके देखना है और लेफ्ट साइड पे भी डिप करना है, ठीक है. एंड देन यू फील विच फोसा और विच स्पेस इज नैरोअर. जिस एरिया या जिस स्पेस पे आपको, चाहे वो राइट हो चाहे वो लेफ्ट हो, जहां पे आपको नैरो लग रहा है, तो वहां पर इट मींस दैट द ट्रेकिया इज डेविएटेड टुवर्ड्स दैट पर्टिकुलर साइड. ठीक है. अगर अभी आपने कर देख लिया और आपने अपने दोनों एरियाज को फील कर लिया, तो जिस एरिया पे आपको लग रहा है कि यहाँ पर जो है वो फिंगर रेजिस्टेंट फील हो रही थी या यहाँ पर स्पेस जो है वो नैरो है, इट मींस ट्रेकिया इज डेविएटेड टुवर्ड्स राइट. द नॉर्मल पोजीशन ऑफ ट्रेकिया इज बेसिकली इट इज सेंट्रल और स्लाइटली डेविएटेड टुवर्ड्स राइट. अगर स्लाइट डेविएशन है टुवर्ड्स राइट साइड में, देन दिस इज आल्सो एब्सोल्युटली नॉर्मल, बट अ सिग्निफिकेंट डेविएशन टुवर्ड्स राइट is an abnormal thing. ठीक है. अगर if you are not getting it, you can see in the picture also. This is basically the 3-finger method. ठीक है. 3-finger method में same thing you have to do. Instead of using your index finger, you use this finger, second finger, in the suprasternal notch, and you slide your finger downwards to feel for the tracheal rings. आपको tracheal rings इस finger से feel हो जाती हैं. Now, keeping your finger here, आपने इससे ट्रेकिया को स्टेबलाइज कर दिया है. ये जो सेकंड फिंगर है, इससे आपने ट्रेकिया को स्टेबलाइज किया हुआ है. एंड विद योर इंडेक्स फिंगर and this third finger. You have put those two fingers simultaneously in the fossa between the sternocleidomastoid muscle and your trachea, और यहाँ इस स्पेस को और इस स्पेस को आपने कंपेयर करना है. As you can see in this picture, this area अब जो नजर आ रहा है यहाँ से, this area looks resistant, while this area is looking like broad. यहाँ पर ये broad लग रहा है, यहाँ थोड़ा सा narrow लग रहा है. तो it means trachea is shifted towards the left side. जहाँ पर narrow है वहीं पर trachea की shifting है. तो trachea is shifted towards, slightly towards the left side, and this is abnormal. Even slight deviation towards left side is abnormal because trachea normal position is central or slightly towards right, not left. ठीक है ना? So this is how you feel for the trachea. Can you see here? This is, you are stabilizing with this finger your trachea, and these two fingers are dipped in this fossa, and you feel for the space which is narrower or resistant as compared to the other space which is wider. So the trachea is deviated towards this narrow side. Okay, now there are multiple reasons for the shift of the trachea. Basically, there are push and the pull phenomena. Push means the trachea is shifted to the opposite side, and pull means the trachea is shifted to the same side. We are talking about the diseased side. If it is away from the diseased side, it's a push phenomena, and if it is towards the diseased side, it's a pull phenomena. So shift of the trachea के लिए simple rule of thumb is कि whenever there is decrease in the lung volume, किसी एक साइड पे, राइट साइड पे या लेफ्ट साइड पे, if there is decrease in the lung volume, the trachea will move towards that particular side. क्यों? क्योंकि उस एरिया पे लंग वॉल्यूम डिक्रीज्ड है, वहां पे आपकी इतनी एफिशिएंट रेस्पिरेशंस नहीं हो रही. तो अदर साइड पे क्या होता है, द अदर साइड जो है वो हमेशा हमारे बॉडी का रूल है, हाइपरट्रोफी हो जाता है. तो वहां से वो पुश होगा और सेम साइड की तरफ वो पुल होगा. ठीक है? तो the cause of shift of trachea to the same side, that is the side of the lesion, तो कोलैप्स है, फाइब्रोसिस है, न्यूमोनेक्टमी है, इनमें से कोई भी कॉज है तो आपका ट्रेकिया जो है वो टुवर्ड्स द डिजीज या टुवर्ड्स द अफेक्टेड साइड पुल हो जाएगा. ठीक है? और इफ देयर इज इंक्रीज इन द लंग वॉल्यूम, लंग के अंदर कोई एडिशनल चीज आपके पास आ गई है, लंग के अंदर जो है वो एक्सपेंशन हो गई है फॉर वट एवर रीजन, तो इट इज पुश्ड टू द ऑपोजिट साइड. जो डिजीज्ड साइट है उसके ऑपोजिट साइड पे पुश हो जाता है बिकॉज ऑफ द एक्स्ट्रा वॉल्यूम ऑन द डिजीज्ड साइड. एंड द कॉजेज में इंक्लूड अ मैसिव प्लूरल एफ्यूजन, अ न्यूमोथोरैक्स, अ हाइड्रोन्यूमोथोरैक्स, कोई भी ऐसी कंडीशन जहां लंग कैविटी फिल हो गई है आपकी, तो वो ट्रेकिया जो है वो आपका ऑपोजिट साइड चला जाएगा. नाउ कमिंग टू द एपिक्स बीट, I hope you all know how to examine or how to palpate the trachea now, and you can all practice it in your at your home on your own self, or you can do it on your घर में जो हमारे पास बच्चे होते हैं, ठीक है ना, स्पेशली दे आर वेरी गुड कैंडिडेट्स फॉर एग्जामिनेशन बिकॉज उनसे एक तो आपको रेपो नहीं बनानी पड़ेगी, दे नो यू वेरी वेल. एंड इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग ये है कि इन दिस पेंडेमिक सिचुएशन व्हेन यू आर अनएबल टू कम टू दी वार्ड्स एंड टू द क्लिनिक्स, तो आप घर में बैठ के छोटे बच्चों के ऊपर अपने एग्जामिनेशन करेंगे तो यू विल हैव अ प्रैक्टिस. आपका हैंड्स ऑन घर बैठे भी हो सकता है, और कोई बात नहीं, नॉर्मल बच्चा होगा, बट यू बेसिकली टेक्निक्स को मास्टर करना है. ठीक है ना? हम ये चाहते हैं कि आप टेक्निक सीख लें, हाउ टू डू द रेस्पिरेटरी एग्जामिनेशन. पैथोलॉजी आइडेंटिफाई करना is not difficult when you know the basic technique of doing the examination. Now coming to the apex beat, how to palpate the apex beat. I hope you have if you have covered your cardiovascular examination, then the apex beat is done in detail in the examination of the cardiovascular system. But to ascertain the position of mediastinum, you have to do the apex beat also in the respiratory examination. And how you palpate for the apex beat? You palpate the apex beat with the palm of your right hand. You are standing on the right side of the patient, and the palm of your right hand you place it on the left side of the chest. ठीक है ना? आपका मिड लाइन से ऑपोजिट साइड पे जो लेफ्ट साइड है वहां पर you have to place your palm covering the area just below the nipple and at the level of nipple का जो area है, the whole area of the whole that area is covered with the palm of your hand. आपने अपना palm वहां पर पूरा रखा, and then आप उसके beneath आपको कहीं पर कोई pulsations, if you are able to feel the pulsations, you try to localize those pulsations with the index finger. ठीक है ना? बेसिकली पहले आपने पूरा palm रखना है, and you try to identify where the pulsation is, and if suppose you are able to feel the pulsation, देन अपनी 1 या 2 फिंगर्स रख के आप असर्टेन करते हो व्हाट इज द एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन वेयर दैट पल्स इज प्रेजेंट, ठीक है। और फिर उसी एरिया के ऊपर यू हैव टू कीप योर इंडेक्स फिंगर एंड देन यू काउंट द रिब्स so that you can say where is the apex beat, what is the exact location of the apex beat. So uske liye you have to count the ribs, and for counting the ribs we have one reference point which is basically the angle of Lewis. What is the angle of Lewis? It is basically the junction between the manubrium sternum and the body of sternum. उनके दरमियान में जो angle है, जो आपका sternum है उसका एक ऊपर का manubrium है and then there is a body. तो उनके दरमियान जो एंगल बन रहा है that angle is known as angle of Lewis, and that angle of Lewis is basically a reference point for counting ribs. When you palpate your, आप ऊपर से आए, आप sternum के ऊपर, if you put your hand on the sternum and then you simply come down, you'll feel a ridge. अपने ऊपर ही एग्जामिन करके अभी ही देख लो, तो you'll feel a ridge, and आप उस ridge के साथ साथ आप थोड़ा सा lateral जाते हैं. The thing that you are palpating now is basically your second rib, and beneath that second rib is your second space. So this is how you count the intercostal spaces when you are doing your apex beat. Your left index finger is at the position of the your right index finger is at the position of the apex beat, and you count the ribs with your left hand. और आपने उसमें जो है वो second space, third space, fourth space, fifth space identify कर. And then you will tell the examiner where is the apex beat, and you have to tell the location of the apex beat along from the intercostal from the angle of Lewis and the with reference to the mid clavicular line also. ठीक है ना, एक तो आपने ये बताना है कि किस स्पेस में आ रही है, whether it is present in the second space, third space or fourth space, और दूसरा with reference to the mid clavicular line, the line that is passing through the center of the clavicle and it is passing through the knuckle. उस line को अगर आप reference point बना लें तो उस line के वो medial है, lateral है या at that line है, and if it is medial or lateral, how many centimeters away from the mid clavicular line. So the complete comment would be the apex beat is palpable in the left fourth intercostal space, 1 centimeter medial to the mid clavicular line. ठीक है ना, इस तरह से आपने एग्जामिनर को अपना पूरा कंप्लीट एग्जामिनेशन जब एपेक्स बीट करते हैं तो ये कंप्लीट कमेंट आपने लास्ट में देना है कि व्हाट इज द लोकेशन ऑफ द एपेक्स बीट. ठीक है, with reference to the you have to tell the exact number of intercostal space and the location with reference to the mid clavicular line. ठीक है. Now there are multiple causes of a displaced apex beat. Majority are the cardiovascular causes, but there are certain respiratory causes of displaced apex beat, and these include a massive pleural effusion on the left side, then pneumothorax, or there is a right ventricular hypertrophy secondary to the pulmonary hypertension. This results in cor pulmonale, and this will result in right ventricular hypertrophy. So this is basically the respiratory cause of the displaced apex beat. Now, third thing that you are going to do when you are palpating the chest is basically look for the chest expansion. ये हमने inspection पे भी किया था कि how the chest is moving, both sides are moving equally or not. और अब इसको आपने जो है वो palpation पे दोबारा करना है. And how you do for the chest expansion? Basically, you wrap the fingers of the both hands on either side of the chest. ये आपने encircle कर लेना है either side of the chest को with thumbs in the midline approximating each other. But important चीज क्या है? Your hand is placed on the chest while your thumbs, they are not exactly touching the chest, they are just above the chest. ठीक है ना? Basically what you have to do, you have to wrap the fingers around either side of the chest and bring the thumbs in the midline so that they approximate each other without touching the chest wall. Sometimes हम यहाँ fold बना लेते हैं, otherwise आप बगैर fold बनाए भी कर सकते हैं. You just what you do, ये आपका midline है, ठीक है, और मिड लाइन के ईदर साइड्स के ऊपर आपका थंब है, और इस तरह जब आपने रैप करवा ली फिंगर्स, देन यू आस्क द पेशेंट टू टेक अ डीप ब्रेथ एंड देन यू लुक फॉर द मूवमेंट ऑफ द बोथ थम्स. ये जो राइट और लेफ्ट थम्स आपके हैं इनका मूवमेंट आपने देखना है, बिकॉज व्हेन द पेशेंट इंस्पायर्स तो उसके साथ क्या होगा, देयर इज एक्सपेंशन ऑफ द चेस्ट एंड बोथ ऑफ द थंब विल मूव अपार्ट. सो बेसिकली यू हैव टू चेक द डिस्टेंस फ्रॉम द मिड लाइन. If suppose this thumb is moving this much distance from the midline and this thumb is moving this much distance from the midline, it means that this side of the chest is moving more as compared to the left side. The right side is moving more as compared to the left side. ये exactly इसमें क्या हो रहा है we don't know, but what we can see, what we can appreciate from here, that right side is moving more as compared to left side. It means there is decreased chest movement on the left side. ठीक है ना? अब ये कहाँ कहाँ करना है? जब आपने anterior chest examine कर रहे हैं, you have to do it on the basically we divide the lung into 3 zones when we do the examination. So 3 zones है we have. The zone just above the second intercostal space, this whole area is your upper zone. And from second intercostal space to fourth intercostal space, this is your middle zone. And then beyond fourth intercostal space is basically your lower zone of the chest. ठीक है? Upper zone up till second intercostal space, from second to fourth middle zone, and beyond fourth space is your lower zone. So you have to check the chest expansion in all 3 zones. आपने यहाँ पर भी चेक करना है, इस एरिया में भी चेक करना है, and then you have to do it on the lower zones also. All 3 areas के अंदर आपने chest expansion करके compare करना है both sides को, and then you have to comment whether they are moving equally with respiration or one side is moving less as compared to the other. Now causes of the reduced movement on जो है वो of the one side of the chest, वो सारी वही बात है कि जिस एरिया के अंदर आपका लीजन होगा, जिस the diseased area में आपकी जो है मूवमेंट्स डिक्रीज होंगी, whether it's a collapse, whether it's a consolidation, whether it's a pneumothorax, pleural effusion, or in all these conditions the chest movement will be decreased. Same you have to do it on the posterior side of the chest also, और posterior side of the chest पे आपने जो है वो this is the method how you do it. Same method है, ठीक है ना? आपने जो है वो posterior aspect के ऊपर wrap कर दी fingers को, bring the thumbs in the midline approximating each other, and then you ask the patient to take a deep breath and check for the chest expansion. ठीक है? But posterior side पे आपने जब ये करना है तो you have to perform in the infrascapular region. Scapula जहाँ तक आ रहा है उस area में नहीं करना है. Beyond that area you have to look for the chest expansion. Now this completes your inspection. We have done for the we have checked for the chest tenderness. We have checked for the position of mediastinum by checking the position of the apex feet and the trachea, and then we have checked for the chest expansion both anteriorly and posteriorly. Real scenarios में आप anterior complete कर लें पहले, फिर last में posterior कर लें. यहाँ पर फिलहाल हम दोनों चीजें साथ-साथ कर रहे हैं. Now coming to the third aspect of your examination, that is percussion. Being in third year, you are not that much familiar with the percussion and the technique of percussion. Basically third year में तो आप लोग जरा history taking पे ही ज़्यादा है. सामने भी आप read कर, then you have to sit in the real technique जो है ये आप सीख लें. और importantly you can see the videos of these YouTube videos are there for doing the complete respiratory examination, and those videos are very helpful when you are at your homes. You cannot perform these things in your real patients. तो आपको videos देख के अपनी techniques को brush up करना सीखें. ठीक है ना? This is a very important time. You are staying at home. You have plenty of time at home. तो वहाँ पर आपने वो videos देखें, अपने घर के बच्चों के ऊपर examination करें, बेशक adults पे करें, young बच्चों पे करें. On whoever you can do, you can practice your examination. Do it. Don't waste your time. Do it right now. Third year is a very important year of your clinical exam. Clinical posting आपकी start हो जाती है. This is the very first year when you are dealing with the actual patients. So this helps you a lot in your final year. अगर आप third year से ये सब practice start करते हैं, तो by the time you are in the final year और अब आपने exam देना है, तो like आपकी techniques जो हैं they are already brushed up. ठीक है? Now coming to the percussion. First, we will discuss the technique of percussion, how you do the percussion. Basically, we have 2 fingers. Okay? The middle finger of the left hand, this is known as the fleximeter. Middle finger of the left hand, and with the finger that you with the help of which you are doing the percussion, that is the middle finger of the right hand. It is known as the flexor. You can see here in this picture. This is your left hand, and this is your right hand. Okay? This finger is the flexor and this finger is your fleximeter. ठीक है? ये 2 fingers के नाम याद रख लें जिससे आप percussion कर रहे हैं. ठीक है? This finger you are doing percussion with, this is known as the flexor, and the finger that is placed on the chest of the left hand, this finger is known as the fleximeter. right? Now you have to place the middle finger of the left hand, that is fleximeter, firmly on the patient's chest over the intercostal space. आपने bone के ऊपर नहीं रखना है अपना ये finger जो है bone के ऊपर नहीं रखना है. You have to dip it in the intercostal spaces and you have to firmly place it on the intercostal spaces. ठीक है? Then you have to strike the center of middle phalanx of the fleximeter. जो ये finger आपने यहाँ पर रखी है, इसका तो middle phalanx है. इसके ऊपर you have to strike with the tip of the middle finger of right hand in a tapping manner. ठीक है, समझ में आ रहा है? You can see here, ये finger है fleximeter and this is the flexor, this is the middle phalanx. ठीक है, आपका जो fleximeter है उसका middle phalanx के ऊपर you have to strike with the tip of the flexor. Right hand का जो flexor है इसका tip आप use करोगे for percussion. ठीक है? Now how to do the percussion when you are at home? इसका practice करने के लिए आपके पास सबके पास tables होती हैं. ठीक है? Place your left hand on the table. ठीक है? और उसकी middle finger के middle phalanx के ऊपर आपने क्या करना है? You have to strike with the middle finger of the right hand. हमेशा examination right hand से होता है, तो strike तो आपने right hand से करना है. ठीक है? Can you hear the voice? I'm doing it on my own table. And you can hear the voice. I don't know आपको voice आ रही है या नहीं, but this is how you can practice it. इसमें important चीज क्या है? The movement. जो आप ये finger से strike करोगे, तो आपकी movement should be at this joint only. आपका wrist joint move करना चाहिए, not your shoulder joint or the elbow joint. आपकी finger बहुत smooth आनी चाहिए और आपका सिर्फ wrist joint के ऊपर आपने free movement करनी है. wrist joint के ऊपर आपका shoulder move नहीं करना चाहिए, आपका elbow joint के ऊपर movement नहीं होना चाहिए. This is very important thing. ठीक है? The movement should be originating from the wrist joint and you have to compare the percussion note with that on the opposite side. Suppose you are doing it on the right side, so you have to compare the right side with the left side. ठीक है ना? Okay. अब which areas to percuss? आपने percussion, अभी आपने टेक्निक सीखा कि how to do the percussion. I hope you can understand from these pictures कि आपने percussion anteriorly कैसे करनी है और posteriorly कैसे करनी है. Basically posterior chest के ऊपर जहाँ scapula है आपने वो areas avoid करने हैं. ये जो हम अपने hands रखवाते हैं ना कि we put the right hand on the left shoulder and the left hand on the right shoulder so that scapula is prominent and you avoid trachea when you are doing the examination. आपने scapula के ऊपर percussion नहीं करना है, थोड़ा सा midline में जाके percussion करना है. First here, then here. आपने suppose right side से start किया, you do the percussion here, then you compare on the left side. Then इसी side के ऊपर you come down, you do it in the third space here, and then you go to the right side and do the examination here. Then you come here on the fourth space, you do it on the right side, go to the left side, do in the fourth space. Then on the left side, come to the fifth space, do it here, and then go to the right side, do it in the fifth space. तो ये ऐसे ऐसे इस पैटर्न में स्नेक लाइक पैटर्न के अंदर आपने जो है वो परकशन करना है. कंपेयर हमेशा करना है बोथ साइड्स. ठीक है? यू हैव टू कंपेयर बोथ साइड्स व्हेन यू आर डूइंग दी परकशन. ओके, नाउ एरियाज कौन कौन से? वी स्टार्ट द परकशन एंटीरियरली फ्रॉम द सुप्राक्लेविकुलर फोसा. clavicle से just above we have supraclavicular fossa. This is the area where your lung apex is there. तो उस एरिया पे आपने परकशन करना है supraclavicular fossa पे. Then comes your clavicle, and on the clavicle you percuss directly without using the fleximeter, that is the middle finger of the left hand. आपने डायरेक्ट बोन के ऊपर परकस करना है, अपना लेफ्ट हैंड बीच में नहीं रखना है. ठीक है? Then continue percussing the second to sixth intercostal space anteriorly. आपने सेकंड का, हमने एंगल ऑफ लोइस से हमें पता है कि सेकंड स्पेस कहाँ पर है, तो आपने सेकंड टू सिक्स्थ इंटरकॉस्टल स्पेसेस एंटीरियरली परकस करना है, एंड देन फोर्थ टू एट इंटरकॉस्टल स्पेस लेटरली आपने परकस करना है. लेटरल चेस्ट के ऊपर आपने, दिस इज द एंटीरियर चेस्ट, देन यू स्लाइड योर फिंगर्स हियर, दिस इज, ये आपने हैंड्स को थोड़ा सा अबव मूव करा देना है, एंड देन दिस एरिया इज एक्सपोज्ड, द पार्ट, द एरिया बीनीथ द एक्सुला, ये सारा एरिया आपका एक्सपोज हो जाता है. आप अपनी फिंगर्स को स्लाइड करके यहाँ लेकर आएंगे एंड यू डू द परकशन हेयर एंड कंपेयर इट ऑन दी लेफ्ट साइड. आपने राइट साइड पे परकशन किया, देन यू डू इट ऑन दी लेफ्ट साइड. लेटरल चेस्ट भी ऐसे ही करना है जैसे एज यू आर डूइंग इन द एंटीरियर चेस्ट में एंड पोस्टीरियर चेस्ट में. लेटरल चेस्ट पे भी आपने कंपैरिजन के साथ दोनों एरियाज करने. ठीक है, you can see the YouTube videos. Those videos are very helpful when you are not actually seeing how to do the examination. ठीक है, then 2nd to 6th on the anterior aspect, 4th to 8th on the lateral aspect, and then posterior chest में you have to do it in the suprascapular region, interscapular region, and then the infrascapular region up to the 11th intercostal space. Posteriorly you have to go up to 11th intercostal space. One more thing, when you are doing the anterior chest, so identify the areas of normal liver and cardiac dullness. You know, whenever there is a viscera, the percussion note is dull. Sometimes when there is a disease also, the percussion note can be dull. So you must be familiar what is the area of the liver where you get a normally get a dull percussion note, and what is the area of heart where you will normally get a dull percussion note in the absence of any pathology. So ये areas आपने identify करने हैं. Now the percussion note की हमारे पास कौन कौन सी types हैं? The normal percussion note that is present over the normal lung cavity is basically the resonant note. ठीक है, ये जो नोट आपको अपने अगर घर में कोई बच्चे हैं, आप उनके ऊपर इजीली बच्चों को परकशन करवाने में बड़ा मजा आता है, ठीक है ना, तो you can easily do it in your younger children at home. So the note that you are getting over the normal lung fields is basically the resonant note. Resonant note तब आता है जब आपके lungs के अंदर air होती है, तो resonant note आता है. एक और चीज important when you are doing the percussion, your left hand should be firmly placed on your chest. अगर वो firmly placed नहीं है, थोड़ी सी fingers और आपकी chest के दरमियान में space है, तो the sound will not travel. ठीक है, so it should be firmly placed so that you can hear a sound when you are striking with your finger. ठीक है, firmly placed होना चाहिए, ऐसा नहीं है कि वो थोड़ा सा उठा हुआ है, finger जो है वो हवा में है, finger जो है वो properly touch नहीं कर रही है, so it should be firmly placed. Then another type of note is the tympanic note, which you get over the hollow viscus. जब हम abdomen में palpation करते हैं, we all know the intestines, they are the hollow cavities. तो उनके अंदर आपको जो note सुनाई देता है, that is not resonant, that is tympanic note. And then we have a dull note. Dull note is the note which we are getting on the solid organs normally, that is liver and cardiac areas के ऊपर अगर आप percussion करोगे, you will get a dull note. But also we are getting this dull note over the area of consolidation. ठीक है? Then we have stony dull. One we have dull, and then we have stony dull. Stony dull we are getting in the whenever there is a fluid in the pleural cavity, तो हमें stony dull note मिलता है. तो pleural effusion हो, हेमोथोरैक्स हो, काइलोथोरैक्स हो, इन सारी conditions के अंदर there is a fluid, तो उसमें आपको जो है वो fluid चाहे blood हो, चाहे lymph हो, चाहे normal liquid हो, तो in all those conditions you will get a stony dull note. And then we have a hyper resonant note. Normal जब air present होती है, we get a resonant note. When there is excess of air in the lung cavity, you will get a hyper resonant note, and this you will get in the pneumothorax. ठीक है. Now coming to the अच्छा palpation या percussion से related अगर कोई question है, you can ask now. Okay. Posterior chest में beyond scapula से कहाँ तक करना होगा check? You have to do up to the 11th intercostal space. ठीक है, posterior side पे आपकी intercostal spaces जो हैं वो ज़्यादा areas में आपको cover करनी है. 11th intercostal spaces तक हम जो है वो posterior aspect of the chest पे करते हैं. ठीक है. How to feel apex beat if the child is skinny? Basically, if the child is skinny, you can easily palpate the apex beat. प्रॉब्लम आती है ओबीज बच्चे के अंदर, ठीक है ना, स्किनी होता है तो यू कैन इजीली फील, यू कैन इजीली गेट द एपेक्स बीट. बट इफ यू आर नॉट गेटिंग एनी पल्सेशन व्हेन यू हैव पुट योर होल palm over the left side of the chest and you are not getting any pulsations, you ask the patient to move left laterally so that now the heart is more approximating your palms. So there are more chances that you will get you will feel a pulsation. ठीक है, तो लेफ्ट लेटरल मूव करा के हम देख सकते हैं. एंड बिलीव मी, पीडियाट्रिक पॉपुलेशंस के अंदर, पीडियाट्रिक पेशेंट्स के अंदर इट इज नॉट वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू फील फॉर द एपेक्स बीट. एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? ओके, we don't have any question right now. Now coming to the last part of the examination, that is auscultation. It is also a very important thing to do when you are doing the examination of the chest. और chest auscultation जो है, it's a difficult thing. आपका सबसे important foremost prerequisite for doing the respiratory examination, you should have a good quality steps. ठीक है ना, गुड क्वालिटीज के ब्रेथ साउंड्स आर मतलब ऑस्कल्टेट करना दे आर डिफिकल्ट एज कंपेयर टू दी हार्ड साउंड्स. So unless you have a good quality stet, you have difficulty in appreciating the different sounds that you are getting. So remember to have a good stet when you are doing your clinical rotations. Now auscultation is carried out. We have in the stethoscope we have one area which is known as the diaphragm of the chest, and we have one that is the bell of the stet. ये जो small circle है, this is the bell, और ये जो chest के ऊपर placed है आपका bigger circle, यहाँ पे easily ये नजर आ रहा है, this is known as the diaphragm. Diaphragm is for the high low pitch voices, और आपकी high pitch voices जो है वो आपको बेल से सुनाई देती हैं. तो रेस्पिरेटरी एग्जामिनेशन के अंदर वी डू द होल एग्जामिनेशन विद द डायफ्राम ऑफ द स्टेथोस्कोप. एंटीरियरली आपने कहां से कहां देखना है, जहां पर आपने परकशन किया था एंटीरियरली वहीं पर आपने ऑस्कल्टेशन करना है. फ्रॉम अबव द क्लेविकल डाउन टू द सिक्स्थ रिब, और लेटरली फ्रॉम एक्सिला टू द एट्थ रिब, और पोस्टीरियरली डाउन टू द लेवल ऑफ 11th रिब. सेम चीज है जो आपने परकशन में किया है. अगेन यहाँ पर भी यू हैव टू कंपेयर बोथ साइड्स ऑफ द चेस्ट ऑल्टरनेटली. ठीक है ना, आपने राइट साइड पे किया, यू डू इट ऑन द लेफ्ट साइड इन द सेम स्पेस, देन यू कम डाउन ऑन द लेफ्ट साइड, यू डू इट ऑन द राइट साइड आल्सो, देन यू कम डाउन ऑन द राइट साइड इन द सेम स्पेस, यू गो टू द लेफ्ट स्पेस. तो ये स्नैक लाइक पैटर्न होता है ना, ऐसे 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 ऐसे. तो इसमें आपको कंपेयर करते हुए चलना है ऑन ईच साइड. ठीक है, इन द ईच इंटरकॉस्टल स्पेस यू हैव टू कंपेयर. नाउ व्हेन यू आर ऑस्कल्टेटिंग, you have to comment on the air entry, whether the breath sounds are equal on both sides, the intensity of breath sounds, whether they are equal on both sides, and the type of breathing. There are many types of breathing. At your level, you need to know what is the difference between the normal vesicular breathing versus bronchial breathing. If you people are having stethoscope right now in your hands, you place it in your chest. ठीक है ना, आपने क्या करना है, मैं आपको डिफरेंशिएट करना सिखा देती हूँ. हाउ टू डिफरेंशिएट अ नॉर्मल वेसिकुलर ब्रीदिंग फ्रॉम द ब्रोंकियल ब्रीदिंग. देयर आर सर्टेन कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ नॉर्मल वेसिकुलर ब्रीदिंग. इन द नॉर्मल वेसिकुलर ब्रीदिंग, इंस्पायरेशन इज लॉन्गर, लाउडर एंड हार्शर देन एक्सपायरेशन. आप अपना स्टेथोस्कोप अपने चेस्ट के ऊपर रखें, यू प्लेस इट ओवर द लंग फील्ड्स. ठीक है, एंटीरियरली कहीं पर भी रख लें, एंड देन यू टेक अ डीप ब्रेथ and listen to your own breath sounds. You will feel that inspiration is longer, louder and harsher, and there is no pause between inspiration and the expiration. This is the normal vesicular breathing which is heard over the normal lungs. अभी अपने ऊपर लगाकर सुन लें कि what is normal vesicular breathing. ठीक है, और ये दो characteristics याद रखें. ठीक है, there is no pause between inspiration and expiration, and inspiration is louder, longer and harsher. Then comes your bronchial breathing. Bronchial breathing is when the air passes through the larger tubes. जब आपकी air pass करती है आपके normal lung के अंदर भी, जब आपकी larger tubes जैसे trachea है, वहां से जब air pass करती है तो आपको जो breathing सुनाई देती है, this is the bronchial breathing. And what are the characteristics of bronchial breathing? Here the expiration is longer and louder than inspiration, or both are equal sometimes, but basically expiration is also harsher, longer and louder. And there is a gap between inspiration and expiration. अब आपने अगर normal vesicular breathing सुन ली है over your own chest, तो अब आप अपना ये stethoscope put it on your neck, जहाँ पर trachea है, put it there, and now listen to the breath sounds. और compare करो it with the breath sounds over the lung fields. You will definitely feel this difference. There is a gap between inspiration and expiration, and your expiration is also harsher here. ठीक है, और डिजीज्ड लंग के अंदर अगर लंग कैविटी के इफ यू आर गेटिंग दिस ब्रोंकियल ब्रीदिंग, तो मोस्ट लाइकली जो कॉज है उसका वो कंसोलिडेशन या कोलैप्स है. ठीक है, कंसोलिडेशन मोस्ट कॉमनली बच्चों के अंदर वी गेट दिस ब्रोंकियल ब्रीदिंग ओवर द एरिया ऑफ कंसोलिडेशन. निमोनियाज के अंदर वी गेट कंसोलिडेशन, सो इन अ चाइल्ड विद निमोनिया यू कैन गेट दिस ब्रोंकियल ब्रीदिंग. बट फेमिलियर होने के लिए अपने दोनों ट्रेकिया के ऊपर रखो एंड देन लंग्स के ऊपर रखो, देन दोनों साउंड्स को कंपेयर करो. यू विल हैव एन आइडिया व्हाट इज अ वेसिकुलर ब्रीदिंग एंड व्हाट इज अ ब्रोंकियल ब्रीदिंग. So you have to comment on that the air entry is equal on both sides, the breathing is normal vesicular or the bronchial, और कोई और अगर pathology है. Sometimes in the asthmatic patients we have vesicular breathing with prolonged expiration, so that's another etiology. उसमें expiration prolonged हो जाती है, but it is not that louder and harsher. ठीक है. So I hope you get all these things. देन कम्स योर, अच्छा आपने ऑस्कल्टेशन के ऊपर एक तो टाइप ऑफ ब्रीदिंग बता दिया, दूसरा एयर एंट्री बता दिया, थर्ड थिंग आपने चेक करना है फॉर दी वोकल रेजोनेंस। ठीक है, नाउ हाउ टू डू द वोकल रेजोनेंस। एक चीज हम पहले किया करते थे टेक्टाइल वोकल फ्रेमाइटिस पैल्पेशन के अंदर, नाउ टेक्टाइल वोकल फ्रेमाइटिस इज ऑब्सोलीट। वो वोकल रेजोनेंस ही होती थी जो कि आप पैल्पेट करते थे, बट नाउ इट इज नो मोर डन, ये ऑब्सोलीट हो चुका है टेक्टाइल वोकल फ्रेमाइटिस। अब हम सिर्फ करते हैं वोकल रेजोनेंस। और कैसे करते हैं? फॉर असेसिंग द वोकल रेजोनेंस it involves auscultating the different areas of the chest while the patient repeat a word or number consistently. Suppose we ask the patient to say teen teen teen. हमारे setup में we ask the patient to say teen 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 and then we auscultate it on the, suppose second space पे सुन रहे हैं, then we compare it on the left side also. Right side पे सुना, then we go to the left side and then we ask the patient to say teen 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 and then we hear it with the stethoscope. और दोनों का डिफरेंस जो है वो हम देखते हैं कि बोथ आर इक्वल और देयर वोकल रेजोनेंस इज इंक्रीज्ड ऑन वन साइड और डिक्रीज ऑन द अफेक्टेड साइड। देयर आर मल्टीपल थिंग्स जिसके अंदर वोकल रेजोनेंस आपकी इंक्रीज हो जाती है और देयर आर मल्टीपल थिंग्स जिसमें आपकी वोकल रेजोनेंस डिक्रीज हो जाती है। तो जब आप एक एरिया से दूसरे एरिया को कंपेयर करते हैं देन यू विल हैव एन आइडिया कि what is basically the vocal resonance. You just ask the patient to say teen 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 or you can also ask him to say 111 or say 99, whichever is convenient to you and whichever is convenient to the child. बच्चा अगर जो है वो तीन 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 बोलने में कंफर्टेबल है तो आप उसे तीन 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 कहलवा दें and then you auscultate and you hear the intensity of the sound कि कहाँ पर आपको डिक्रीज मिल रही है, कहाँ पर इंक्रीज मिल रही है, कहाँ पर इक्वल मिल रही है. You have to comment on that. And again auscultation में जब आप कर रहे हैं तो you have to compare all the areas of the lung, anteriorly भी करना है, laterally भी करना है and posteriorly भी करना है. You have to auscultate all three areas of the lungs. ठीक है? Now causes of increased vocal resonance. When is the vocal resonance increased? The most common cause of increased vocal resonance is basically your consolidation. ठीक है ना, जब भी कंसोलिडेशन कोई कैविटेशन होती है वहां पर वोकल रेजोनेंस इंक्रीज्ड मिलती है आपको. एंड डिक्रीज वोकल रेजोनेंस कब मिलती है? व्हेनेवर देयर इज एन इफ्यूजन, न्यूमोथोरैक्स, हीमोन्यूमोथोरैक्स, तो उसमें आपकी वोकल रेजोनेंस, क्योंकि बीच में एक और मीडियम आ रहा है ना, अब फ्लूइड है या एयर है तो ये दिस इज अनदर मीडियम, तो अब साउंड को ट्रांसमिट करने के लिए मल्टीपल एरिया से पास करना पड़ रहा है तो वोकल रेजोनेंस डिक्रीज हो जाती है. जितना मीडियम ज्यादा होगा वोकल रेजोनेंस उतनी डिक्रीज होगी आपकी. ठीक है? And increased vocal resonance में we have consolidation, we have lung abscess and we have collapse with patent bronchus. जब patent bronchus के साथ collapse है vocal resonance increased है. जब obstructed bronchus के साथ collapse है the vocal resonance is decreased. वो collapse with obstructed bronchus जो है वो decreased vocal resonance का call. Now auscultation में we have so far done the type of breathing, we have done the intensity of the breath sounds, we have done the vocal resonance. Now coming to the added sounds. ठीक है ना, sometimes you hear added sounds also when you are doing your examination. So added sounds में we have 4 types of added sounds. We have crepitations, we have wheeze, we have stridor and we have pleural rub. जो most common sounds हमें सुनाई देते हैं ये आपके crepitations और wheeze हैं, और sometimes कुछ seasons के अंदर जो है वो stridor के साथ भी patient हमारे पास आते हैं. ठीक है, तो what are these sounds? Crackles, crepitations, rails, all are one and the same thing. These are basically short, discontinuous, non-musical sounds and they are heard mostly during inspiration. अगर आपने added sounds बताना है तो आपने ये भी बताना है कि inspiratory crackles हैं, expiration पे wheeze आ रही है, whatever the phase of respiration the sound is coming, आपने वो phase of respiration भी बताना है. ठीक है? अच्छा, crackles या crepitations, they are 2 types. एक तो होती है हमारे पास coarse crepitations और दूसरी होती है fine crepitations या fine crackles. Coarse crepitations we are mostly heard in patient with pneumonia or bronchiectasis. इसमें basically the coarse crepitations are the bubbling sound. जब air आपकी जो है वो fluid, क्योंकि secretions बहुत ज्यादा होती हैं pneumonia के अंदर या bronchiectasis के अंदर, there are lots of secretions. When the air is passing through the secretions, so it produces a bubbling sound which is known as the coarse crepitations. और fine crepitations are basically because of the pulmonary edema. आपका जो है वो प्रेशर्स जो है वो इंक्रीज हो जाते हैं, तो जो आपका इंटरस्टिशियल स्पेसेस के अंदर जो है वो फ्लूइड इंक्रीज हो जाता है. तो दैट इंक्रीज इन द फ्लूइड रिजल्ट्स इन द फाइन क्रैकल्स. एंड वी ऑल नो पल्मोनरी एडीमा है, तो एडीमा में फ्लूइड कलेक्शन इज बेसिकली एट द डिपेंडेंट पार्ट्स. अगर बॉडी के अंदर एडीमा होता है तो डिपेंडेंट पार्ट इज योर फीट, तो फीट पे एडिमा कलेक्शन होता है, बट लंग्स के अंदर अगर हम बात करें तो डिपेंडेंट पार्ट इज द बेस ऑफ द लंग. तो आपको फाइन ट्रैकल्स आर बेस्ट हर्ड इन दी पल्मोनरी एडिमा एट दी बेसिस ऑफ द लंग्स, और द बेस्ट एरिया टू ऑस्कल्टेट फॉर द लंग बेसिस इज बेसिकली योर पोस्टीरियर चेस्ट. पोस्टीरियर चेस्ट के ऊपर जो आपकी लोअर स्पेसेस हैं, they are the best to auscultate for the fine freckles. Then comes your V's. I know V's तो मेरा ख्याल है सभी ने जो है वो कभी ना कभी सुना ही होगा. यहाँ पर पेशेंट्स के ऊपर कभी सुना होगा, या फैमिली में बाज़ औक़ात कोई एस्थमेटिक होता है तो वीजिंग तो मेरा ख्याल है वीजिंग साउंड, या मूवीज के अंदर बाज़ औक़ात कोई एस्थमेटिक होता है तो वीजिंग साउंड तो आपने सुना ही होगा. ठीक है, तो नहीं सुना है तो फिर आप जो है वो अगेन आई विल आस्क के आप यूट्यूब पे जाएं, और ये सारे साउंड्स किस तरह के होते हैं ये आप ऑडियोज भी सुन सकते हैं, वीडियोस भी देख सकते हैं, ऑडियोज भी सुन सकते हैं. ठीक है, व्हीजिंग इज बेसिकली अ म्यूजिकल साउंड, विस्लिंग साउंड की तरह का होता है, सीटी जैसी आवाज होती है. इट इज हर्ड यूजुअली इन एक्सपायरेशन. एज वी ऑल नो अस्थमा में प्रॉब्लम ही एक्सपायरेशन का है, एयर ट्रैपिंग हो रही है, ब्रोंक्यूलर कंस्ट्रिक्शन है, तो एक्सपायरेशन में डिफिकल्टी है, तो साउंड भी एक्सपायरेशन में ही आता है. तो व्हीजिंग यू गेट इन एक्सपायरेशन. ठीक है, एंड इट इज कॉज्ड बाय द लोकलाइज्ड नैरोइंग इन द ब्रोंकियल ट्री and most commonly in patients with asthma. The cause of wheezing is asthma, but remember one thing, all that wheeze is not an asthma. ठीक है, the other causes of wheezing include a foreign body, a very common case in our pediatric populations. इनको तो चीजें मुंह में डालने का बड़ा शौक होता है ना, स्पेशली टॉडलर्स को, तो उनके अंदर फॉरेन बॉडी जो है वो एस्पिरेशन के साथ बच्चे आ सकते हैं. इन पेशेंट्स विद सिस्टिक फाइब्रोसिस बिकॉज ऑफ ब्रोंकाइटिस जो है वहां पे कंस्ट्रक्शन हो जाती है. इन पेशेंट्स विद वायरल ब्रोंकियोलाइटिस के साथ, or in patients with gastroesophageal reflux disease, and sometimes you get a wheeze also in heart failure. Then stridor. Stridor basically you do not require a stethoscope to auscultate for the stridor. आप patient के करीब जाते हो तो उसके breath के साथ आपको एक peculiar सा sound सुनाई दे रहा होता है, that is stridor, and it is basically because of the narrowing in the larger airways. जब larger airways के अंदर narrowing हो जाती है, especially आपकी जो upper नॉट लार्जर एयरवेज, बेसिकली अपर रेस्पिरेटरी ट्रैक के अंदर जब ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन है, लैरिंक्स के एरिया के ऊपर, वोकल कॉर्ड्स के एरिया के ऊपर, एपिग्लॉटिस का जो एरिया है, यहाँ पर जब भी आपकी है ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन है, नैरोइंग है, स्टेनोसिस है, इन्फ्लेमेशन है, तो उस कंडीशन में यू गेट एन स्ट्राइडर. और स्ट्राइडर यू कैन इजीली हियर विदाउट द स्टेथोस्कोप, एंड मोस्ट कॉमन फेज ऑफ रेस्पिरेशन जिसपे स्ट्राइडर आता है इज इंस्पायरेशन. ठीक है ना. एंड द इम्पोर्टेंट कॉजेज ऑफ जो स्ट्राइडर्स हमारे पास जो है इम्पोर्टेंट कॉजेज हैं, वी हैव एपिग्लोटाइटिस, we have croup, we have laryngomalacia और laryngeal stenosis. ये ज्यादा कॉमन है यंगर पॉपुलेशन के अंदर, आपकी न्यूनेटल एज के अंदर laryngomalacia ज्यादा कॉमन है. एपिग्लोटाइटिस और क्रूप आपकी 3-4 years की एज के बच्चों के अंदर ज्यादा कॉमन है, especially in those who are unimmunized, because epiglottitis is caused by H influenza type B and it is covered in your immunization. So if the child is unimmunized, then there are increased chances that this child might suffer from epiglottitis, and it's a life-threatening condition, remember. Now, after stridor, we have the last added sound, that is pleural rub. It is basically an abnormal sound which is caused by the rubbing of the inflamed layers of the pleura over each other. ठीक है ना. We know that pleura has 2 layers. We have visceral pleura and we have parietal pleura. So when there is rubbing of these 2 layers over one another because of the inflammation, you get this sound which is known as the pleural rib. In any condition, whenever there is inflammation of the pleural cavity, there is pleuritis is there, secondary to whatever reason, tuberculosis है या कोई और reason है, तो you will get this pleural rub. ठीक है ना. और ये आपको जो है वो both phases of respiration, inspiration पे भी सुनाई देता है, and you will also get it in the expiration. So ये different sounds हैं. Try to listen to the audios of these sounds on the YouTube and see the videos of how to do the respiratory examination on the YouTube, so that you are familiar with the technique of the examination. पढ़ना एक बात होती है, देखना अलग बात होती है, and करना बिल्कुल ही अलग बात होती है. तो practice. आप घर में जितनी practice कर सकते हैं, do it on the normal children, and whenever inshallah you will be coming to the wards or clinics, तो उस वक्त inshallah फिर से इसका revision होगा. Now any questions are most welcome. आप लिख के question कर सकते हैं. You can go to the chat and you can ask the questions. There is a question that मैम हमारा स्टेट कराची में रह गया. बेटा इसका तो कुछ नहीं कर सकते हैं, जब कराची आए तो ले लें. How we check resonance in lung area, but it is the work of vocal cord. How we check resonance in lung area, but it is the work of vocal cord. ये जो रेजोनेंट आपको वोकल रेजोनेंस जो आपको सुनाई दे रही होती है, बेसिकली आपका साउंड प्रोड्यूस होता है, बिकॉज आपको पता है साउंड कैन ट्रेवल थ्रू डिफरेंट मीडियम्स। तो वोकल कॉर्ड का कोई मामला नहीं है यहाँ पे, आपको ये बिकॉज ऑफ डिफरेंट मीडियम्स, एयर है, फ्लूइड है, लंग कैविटी है, तो वहां पे जो डिफरेंट मीडियम्स हैं वहां से जो साउंड ट्रांसमिट हो रहा है, यू आर गेटिंग दिस ऑन दी वोकल रेजोनेंस। तो डिफरेंट चीजों के साथ वोकल रेजोनेंस की इंटेंसिटी डिफरेंट हो जाती है, ठीक है। कंसोलिडेशन में इंक्रीज हो जाती है, इफ्यूजन के अंदर या न्यूमोथोरेक्स के अंदर आपकी डिक्रीज हो जाती है। ओके, आर ब्रोंकाई एंड ट्रैकल्स द सेम थिंग? नो, ब्रोंकाई एंड वीज आर द सेम थिंग, ठीक है। क्रैकल्स, क्रैपिटेशंस एंड रेल्स ये सेम चीज होती है, ठीक है। क्रैपिटेशंस, क्रैकल्स और रेल्स, ये जो रस्टलिंग टाइप का साउंड होता है, ये सेम चीज है, सिनोनिमस ऑफ ऑल वन, दे आर ऑल सिनोनिमस। व्हाइल ब्रोंकाई जो है इट्स लाइक अ वीज। ब्रोंकाई बेसिकली आपको स्टेथोस्कोप के साथ जो सुनाई दे रहा होता है वो ब्रोंकाई होते हैं। समटाइम्स द इंटेंसिटी इज सो मच कि आपको विदाउट स्टेथ भी आपको सुन, ठीक है। विच बुक टू स्टडी फॉर थर्ड ईयर? फॉर क्लिनिकल मेथड्स मैक्लॉयड इज द बेस्ट बुक, ठीक है। आप बेडसाइड टेक्निक्स पढ़ सकते हो बिकॉज इट इज इजियर, but once you go through with your bedside techniques, then it's my advice that you also read the Macleod. Okay. In which area crepitation is mostly heard? Crepitations basically consolidations के ऊपर आपको अगर निमोनिया है पेशेंट को, चाहे वो ब्रोंको निमोनिया है तो ऑल ओवर द चेस्ट सुनाई देंगे, और अगर जो है वो आपका लोबार निमोनिया है तो उसमें जो एरिया ऑफ कंसोलिडेशन है उस पर्टिकुलर एरिया के ऊपर आपको क्रेपिटेशन सुनाई देते हैं, ठीक है। How will we cover our clinicals? Because third year is clinical based, so we are losing a lot. Please guide a bit about it. I have already told you that you can practice this examination techniques on the children who are present at your home. कोई adult आपके साथ अगर cooperate करता है तो आप adults से भी at least technique तो सीखें. Technique is not different from children or adults. कोई technique में difference नहीं है. Secondly, you can watch the YouTube videos and you can do it at your home. ठीक है, this is how you can do, and we all pray that this pandemic get over soon so that we all come to the normal life. Okay, that's it. How can we get slides? I have no idea because मुझे ऐसा कोई सिस्टम नहीं पता है कि हम प्रेजेंटेशन तो शेयर नहीं करते हैं, बट तुम लोगों के पास मोबाइल है भाई, स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो। Okay, no more questions. So this completes. No, I cannot email individually everyone the presentation. All these things are written in your clinical methods book. You don't need to go through this presentation again and again. Just go through your books. Everything is written in your books. You can read your clinical examination books, especially the bedside or the Macleod, and you get all these things. No, email is not an option for sharing the slides. Okay. Okay. Thank you everyone for listening.